Okay, Dan, thanks for coming again today. I'm going to start off by showing you split screen comparison, before your setup and after your setup changes were made. You can see the video on the left as opposed to the video on the right. The video on the left is after we made the changes. The video on the right is before. You can see in the video on the right before. I'm going to draw a line here from your back of your pelvis to the ground. Okay, you can see how much more your pelvis is underneath your chest there. And on the one on the left, after we made the changes, I got you to hinge your hips a little bit, which you can see how your pelvis is posterior of your sternum there, which is really what you need. Anytime you get your pelvis underneath your chest in the golf swing, it's not going to lead to good things. So, we're kind of doing that at address, and I'll show you how that's going to help you. Drawing a line up the shaft plane on both swings here. Okay, and we're going to get into the back swing on both of them. I'm going to try to do this together. Okay. Now you could see the one on the, I'll put a line on the shaft in the middle of your backswing in the before, and a line on your shaft in the middle of the backswing after. Okay, you can see after we made the changes, remember I talked about how we needed to shallow you out a little bit. You can see how much more shallow that is. You're too steep, and one of the reasons you're taking those heavy deep divots is because you're too steep, so we're trying to shallow you out. Okay, getting to the top on the one on the left, getting to the top the one on the right. Okay, once again, in both situations you're a little bit across the line as we talked about, and your right arm is a little bit too, like your elbow pointed to the ground there, it's a little bit too up. So, but it's not as bad as the one on the right. So after we made the changes, that's shallowing you out a little bit. We're going to go into the downswing. I got a little ahead of myself there. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, here we're getting into the downswing. Okay, try to get... Alright, once again, I'm going to draw a line on both. I'm going to put a red line on the shaft before, a green rather, a blue line on the shaft after we made the changes. And you can see once again that shallowed you out a little bit. You're still out over top of the shaft plane a little bit, not as shallow as we'd like to get you, but just in changing that setup, it's helped you. And you could see in the one before, you could see how much closer to the ball your pelvis has already moved. In the one after, you can see how that pelvis, the back of that pelvis is still sitting up against that line. So that's what we're working towards. We're going to continue into the downswing here in both. Okay, get you just to impact there, get us just to impact in the one on the, get you just to impact in both. Okay, now you could see your lower body has moved a little bit closer to the ball in the one on the left, but you're turned through it much better than you are in the one on the right before we made the changes, and you can see how much closer to that line you are. So, the simple changes that we made in your setup seem to help tremendously in your golf swing. Got to keep working toward those. All those motor skills and body preps I did for you are to help you in all three stages. Your setup, which as we could see is extremely important here in your situation. Some of those ones on the backswing and some of the ones on the downswing. Make sure you do those. But you can see, I'm going to clear all this out, how much better you look here going through the ball than in this one. You can see you've really gone into an early extension here. Your sternum and your lower body are almost in a straight line. And here there's a little bit. We'd like to improve that a little bit. Sorry about that phone going off there, but okay, but it's those simple changes we made in your setup have helped tremendously. So thanks again for coming. Really work on those motor skills and body preps that I gave you. Those will continue to help. As we said, you got to get a little bit more mobility in that pelvis area, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.